What's going on, everyone? I am super excited about today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Fire is Fire. As always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, RJ Ellis and the talented Dr. Brian Paul. Today we have kind of an impromptu episode, but I'm actually really, really excited about it. We're going to be talking to Todd from Rosin, which is a new company here in Canada. And it's someone who a lot of us in Canada probably have already known indirectly, and someone who's been involved in the legacy space for a really long time. And I think Todd offers a really cool perspective on the Canadian landscape and what somebody small from a traditional market can do when they're motivated. And so without further ado, I want to welcome Todd of Rosin onto the show. Todd, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, you've really carved out a name for yourself, I think, in Rosin over the past year or two, and it's quite commendable. So I'm happy to have you.
Yeah, it's like 9 months, perhaps, that Rosin has been around. So.
It's only been 9 months, really.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I remember when you first came out, you were doing. Now you've got these round ones, but I think they were like tiles almost.
Yeah, there's been a few iterations. I did some Egyptian tiles. I started with the Ganeshas and the Buddhas. Moved away from them just out of respect, really. The Hamsa to me still has some significant meaning. So that's why I'm still using that mold. And, that's the one that's compliant in the legal space. So that's the one that I'm moving forward with, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I love the styling of it. I think you've done a fantastic job. And I mean, yeah, especially for like the legal space, really it just says Rosin and, your product speaks for itself. It's not like, there's any glitch marketing. There's no gimmicky shit going on. It's just bring in the fire.
No, it's solid. These are great. Like, I love the packaging. Everything looks super crisp. I can't wait to eat these things. Where's Jameson at? Like,
I don't know. He dropped off for a minute, but I know. So the one here, he gave me this one for Christmas. So I've been nodding into these ones. The what are these? The milk chocolate fudge cookies and the cookies and cream.
Yeah.
But really opening up these ones that, the peanut butter collection. Oh my God, man. You're after next level here with the peanut butter. I opened the bag and I was just like smacked in the face with I almost started eating them before we got on.
Yeah, we just had another little production meeting and I just had them sitting out beside me here and I'm just getting wafts of just just peanut butter chocolate just hit me in the face. I've been so excited to get you on so we can actually start munching.
And then Jameson said the other day, he's like, yo, you guys realize how much is in these? And they smack. And I think that's it's one of the dangerous things when you have a really good tasting, edible and they're actually, dosed. And then maybe we want to talk about in a little bit as far as being rosin and versus distillate or whatever edibles, why you went in that direction. I'll let Jameson, he usually guides us through everything. So he's getting set up. I think he got kicked off or something here.
I did get kicked off. I'm going to come right back in here right now.
Oh, you're hitting the multiples.
Oh shit. Okay.
I'm good now. Okay. So I'm super excited about this show. Sorry about the technical difficulty. So I've known Todd longer than I've known Todd because I've known about the Canada Chocolatier for a really long time growing up here in Canada. And I think a lot of us that grew up using cannabis probably are familiar, whether we know it or not, with some of your work. And I think that, this show is really about highlighting individuals who are makers that come from the traditional market and have transitioned to the legal market. And I, really can't think of many people better to have on and chat with than yourself. We reconnected or I guess first connected in person doing some genetic business when you were working at one of the biggest publicly traded companies in Canada. And you actually walked away from a director role at that company to pursue your dream and build your own brand. And that's what we're here today to talk about. And I'm really excited to get into it. And so just we like to start every show with kind of history. Todd, like, what got you started in cannabis? What got you on this path?
Yeah, so really simple actually. 2015, 2016, when all the dispensaries were popping up in Toronto, I got my medical license. I hit every dispensary in town, bought every edible on the market. The unfortunate thing, one day I was sitting with my friends. I ate some edibles that I considered to be horrible, and they all looked at me and told me that they were amazing. And I asked a simple question: why are they amazing? And they said, well, I got really high. I'm like, but they tasted bad. Yeah, but I got really high. So that got me thinking, right? I'm not a second-class citizen because I consume cannabis. I shouldn't have to consume second-class food products if I want cannabis in them. So from there, I met an MMA grower. I started doing some extractions for him. I started my first company called Shattered Sweets. 6 months after I founded that company, I was doing all the green markets and everything in Toronto. I licensed it to somebody who was supposed to take it to Nevada. They kind of shit the bed with that deal. But overnight, I rebranded as a can of chocolate here with the sole focus on chocolate, right? One of the things you would see in the legacy market is nobody was focused. If somebody launched a cupcake one week and it did well, everybody the next week or the next month would have that same cupcake. And then they would move to hard candy, they would move to gummies, they would move to whatever they thought would sell that week. There was never any focus, and that's why nobody was getting good at anything, right? So from there, like I said, I just focused on chocolate, rebranded as a can of chocolatier, worked on that brand from 2016 to 2019. I ended up talking to 27 different LPs about that brand. Basically started sending cold emails to all the CEOs. Spoke to 27 different LPs, ended up selling to one of the largest LPs in Canada. From there, they kind of ran out of money, shut their edible program down. So I worked there for 3 years in many different roles: category management, product development, and R&D. And then when they offered me the director role, that's when I kind of knew if I took that role, I'd get too comfortable and, the dream would die. So I walked away from that, started this, like I said, about 9 months ago. And I'm just about to transition this into the legal market very, very soon. You're on mute.
You're on mute, buddy.
There we go.
I said that's so awesome. Like, I think you've been really successful in being able to quickly get eyes on what is an incredible product. I mean, just eating these, like, that is extremely high-end chocolate that tastes beautifully, and there's GMO rosin in there, and there's no it pairs so nicely that I'm not getting any type of offensive taste from the GMO. I can tell that it's cannabis. I can tell that it's rosin, but it's really nice. So tell me, Todd, do you have a background in confection or confectionery sweets, or
Holy shit. That raspberry
The
chocolate,
raspberry is unbelievable.
I've never had raspberry chocolate. It actually tastes like raspberry.
Yeah.
And like,
Did you guys go raspberry first, or did you guys go milk first?
I went
raspberry first. But hold on.
Raspberry first?
I know people that work at Lindt. So I've had a lot of chocolate. Like, I don't even eat chocolate because I've eaten so much chocolate. Like, every flavor that's out there. This is some solid fucking chocolate, bro.
So that raspberry chocolate, 3 ingredients: raspberry puree, cocoa butter, and sugar, and then the hash rosin, right?
Sorry, I had to interrupt. My mind was blown when I.
Well, do you have a background in chocolate,
Holy
Todd?
fuck.
No,
That's
so
bomb.
no, basically what
Wow.
happened was with Shattered Sweets, I was much like everybody else. I was doing hard candy, I was doing chocolate, I was doing everything. But I realized at one point, after I spent about a week and a half getting ready for a green market, that the only thing that I actually enjoyed making was chocolate. So from there, one of my first chocolate products I called Space Sponge Toffee, right? It was just sponge toffee that was dipped in chocolate. I was getting some bloom quite often, which is like the white film you see on the outside of chocolate. That's when you're not maintaining the proper temperatures. And I was throwing
That's
out
the
a lot of
wax, right?
chocolate. What?
That's the wax, right? Coming out.
Yeah, it's the fat separating, right, from the sugars. So I was throwing out a lot of chocolate back then. So I took a 3-hour class, which was basically like a date night class where you would take your girl to. And in that class, they showed me how to make truffles and how to make ganache, right? A light bulb went off, right? This is 2016. Nobody in cannabis was making truffles. Nobody in the US, nobody was doing truffles. So, the light bulb went off and I'm just like, this is it. And that was it. So from there, like it literally consumed my life. Some people watch sports, some people play video games, some people have fun. To me, creating brands, developing recipes, that's what I consider fun.
Okay, so I gotta commend you. The first bite of that raspberry peanut butter cup tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, that's
And
the
like,
goal, right?
it's
Yeah,
That's
no,
exactly the
that's like
goal.
pow,
like
Yeah.
I
pow.
would, if you make those without rosin, I would buy like
Oh,
bars and
that's
bars.
insane. That's
See,
so good.
that right there is a goal, and that should be the goal for any edible maker, to get to a point where people want to buy their edibles without the cannabis.
So wait, will you make them without cannabis so I can buy them?
I often do, but you have to pay me the same price as the infused ones, or else it's not worth my time.
You know what? I would surprisingly, I would almost still do that though. Like it's that good.
People do.
Because it's
Not,
like it's
not
one of those
many,
things
but
where it's
people
like
do.
I almost like want like my kids to have it because it's like that's so good. Like the flavor
It's
on that
good.
is so next level. It's like okay, I would kind of maybe pay for that. That's like that.
And then
And I don't think there's many edibles that I can't think of any other edible that I've ever had that I would want to have without any rosin or any like whatever dosing in it.
but
So
that's
to me,
clean. Like very clean flavor
tells me,
too.
guys, that tells me that I'm close to achieving my goal, right? Because that's always been the goal, is to not feel like something that I'm eating I wouldn't eat without cannabis. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, and like clean flavor, like just like the slightest, tiniest kiss of like cannabis at the end, which I love. Like it's not weedy at all. You know what I
And
mean? It just like
those are the 50 milligram ones I sent you guys, right?
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. So I mean, at the 10 milligram legal level,
no, it'd
the
be great.
taste is very minimal, right? So
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
this
So,
is
Todd, what advice do you have? Like, as somebody who successfully navigated the pitfalls of transitioning a traditional brand into the legal space, and even if you're not able to transition rosin heads, you've been able to run the gauntlet. What advice do you have for others coming behind you?
like honestly, I haven't done anything special here, guys. Like all I've done is believed in myself. Set a very clear vision for myself. Clearly defined where I want to go, and there's just no stopping me at that point, right? So that's all it is. I believe in myself. That's the only difference between me and perhaps somebody else is I truly believe in myself. I'm willing to be laughed at. Like I said with Canna Chocolatier, I met with 27 different LPs. Probably 15 of them at that time. This is 2019, before edibles were even legal. I started talking to LPs in 2018 before we even knew what the regulation would be for edibles. I got laughed out of the room, multiple times, right? And the next day I picked myself up and hit up other LPs and just kept going. So that's the only advice, just keep going.
And do you feel that like rosin heads and your creation of that brand is something that can be repeated by somebody like you who comes from the traditional market and understands how to build brands and how to speak to consumers? I mean, the biggest issue that I see in industries is when I'm talking to large companies and then I tell them, this is something you could market around, and then they go, oh, we'll run that by our marketing team, and the marketing team is, not have any experience, truthfully and personally, with cannabis for any amount of time, and the way that they look at things is much different than than the average or the consumers that they're trying to target. And I think you've really got a pulse on the industry, as as a guy who likes to consume a lot of solventless extracts, like and high-end solventless extracts. This is exactly what I would, if I'm having an edible, this is the edible that I want to be having. And so, what, to my question, do you think that this is a unique situation with rosin heads, or do you think that with your experience, you have 10 more brands in you?
Yeah, I mean, here's a funny story, right? Rosin Heads was not supposed to be the brand that I was going to be working on. I have a couple other brands in the background that I haven't really showed anybody. Rosin Heads actually came about in a parking lot. I was doing some psilocybin chocolates at the time. The Buddha heads, and my buddy from Steve Solventless asked me one day if I was giving him some Buddha heads. He asked me one day if I wanted to make rosin chocolates. We looked at each other in the parking lot. We're like, rosin heads. And, that's how it came about. And from there, like, honestly, like, to answer your question, just to get straight to the point, 100% this is repeatable from anybody. In my opinion, the formula is pretty simple. Have a solid product, know your consumer, know how to talk to them, respect your consumer. Right? It's pretty simple. And I think the last three things that I mentioned there, the LPs aren't doing, right? So, and
consumer respect's the biggest one.
Right. I don't, it's funny, right? After doing all these marketing assets for, several different LPs, over my time here, right? We're always telling people how to consume the products, right? And I've always laughed at it, right? Because these guys have been, people have been consuming the products before any of these LPs were LPs, right? So like, it always made me feel, like it didn't feel right. You know what I mean? That's why I had to get out of, the traditional corporate legal space and just kind of try to carve my own path, right?
And I think that's what a lot of this show is about. That's what I'm about. That I'm about helping guys like that who don't necessarily go with the grain and don't want to buy into, the corporate mids culture and want to still compete and be relevant. And so, I just think it's so cool. And shame on me. I remember talking to you, and I remember you kind of telling me what you were going to do, and I was like, man, that's a tall order, and for you had it pretty good, and and I've got nothing but mad respect for you and what you've built. How integral in your marketing plan was your network? Like, it seemed like you were able to get these boxes into the hands of people very quickly across Canada and get a lot of visibility quickly. Was that something that you found difficult, or were you able to draw on your network, or how were you able to achieve that?
Well, it was much more difficult than it should have been, because when I first started out with this, I wasn't connecting the dots between Rosin Heads and Canna Chocolatier. So I couldn't reach out to the network that I built with the Canna Chocolatier. So like literally with Rosin Heads, I had to start with scratch. And even people I knew at the time didn't know Rosin Heads was me. It was funny because, I was getting some DMs. I was getting some people saying, hey, like, I know this is you, Todd, just from the style of chocolates and everything. But like, I always just denied it to a certain point, right? So yeah,
I thought you were Steve Solventless, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think that really helped. He's got a big network. He got me into the hands of a lot of people that I didn't know, and then I started reaching out to the people that I did know eventually, and getting it out that way, right?
Because that's the thing.
Yeah,
when you've been like legitimate since Rosin had started. Like, I don't know. I guess that's what Jameson was getting at. Through your network, or I guess through your past, or however you've approached people, you've come legitimate. You didn't come like someone, poach it, trying to press mids to everybody. And like, it's come with pure respect, and everybody's spoken so highly of you from the very beginning. And it's like there seems to have been no learning curve. So it's like, how did you do such a good job so quickly? Was it that you already have a history?
Yeah, it's just, I'd already done it with Canna Chocolatier. I knew exactly what not to do this time. I knew exactly how to get people excited with the branding. I think I've done a better job with Rosin Heads than I was doing with Canna Chocolatier. But you live and you learn, right? I think one of the reasons why it came across so genuine was because it was, right. It's not like I was giving these boxes away and begging people for reviews, right? These were $200 boxes that people were buying, right? So it was super legitimate because like it was organic, right? I wasn't going around begging people, for a review.
No, but to the same thing, you get people asking, "Yo, here's my product. It's $200." But it's just it's not right. You know what I mean? But yours it's never been like that.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like, and what I find, and where I think I need to go with the legal market is, I just need somebody to try the product once. For the most part, everybody likes it, right? So, and it really snowballed on IG. I had the right people posting on their stories at the right time, and it kind of took off from there, right? And I think because the message was consistent most of the time, where everybody's saying, this is the best or one of the best, that got people excited, right? Beyond that, the limited availability also really helped with that, right? Because it was hard to get. I can't make enough for everybody. You know what I mean? And that was never my goal, right? My goal was just to do enough to get the brand out there to be able to make the transition and have some equity when I do the transition, right?
Smart. It's smart. I
Well, I
mean,
think, as you said from the start, focus on quality and look at what's come of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and not sticking to one mold form or form factor. Like I would always watch your page, and it's so artistic. But I'm Egyptian, and like when you put those Egyptian hieroglyphs out, I thought those were so cool. And then we've got Real Deal Resin coming on Sunday, and like today you posted the luchadors, and I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Like, and then you just think of like so many different optionalities, and for a guy who is usually focused on cannabis concentrates or flower, it's not, edibles aren't something that I see that much creativity in, and so it's really refreshing when somebody like you comes along and really pushes the envelope on something, because if I'm eating an edible, that's what I want to eat. Something that tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my mouth. That's awesome, and so I'm super excited. So when you come to the Canadian market, are you going to be coming originally as Rosin Heads, or are you going to be coming under another name?
So I'm good. The first province I'm going to be launching in is going to be Alberta. We ran into a little hiccup when we submitted in Alberta. There's a registration process that even brand owners have to go through that takes 2 to 4 months. So in order to get to market faster, I'm going to be going out to market in Alberta under the Sales Licenses brand. We've created a sub brand for chocolate. I'm not going to disclose that yet. There'll be a press release soon. But everything's going to be the same. It's the exact 2 products you guys have in front of you. Same handsome mold. It's just going to have a different brand name on it. And we're going to do some cross promotion, right? So, it'll be that brand by Rosin Heads kind of thing. And then, the goal is to be in Alberta for June, BC and Saskatchewan, hopefully for July, and then hit the next product call for Ontario to get to market for September. And all the provinces except for Alberta will be the Rosin Heads brand.
Oh, cool. Oh, very cool.
It's only Alberta because Alberta has, like I said, this registration process. You have to do a background check. You have to submit your business plan, your finances for the last 3 years. Pay them $3,000 and then wait 4 months. So in order to get to market quicker, I approached the sales license, and I made the request. Can I just brand it with your brand? To me, I kind of just want to move units. I think the product speaks for itself. I think just the mold in itself, people will see the ham, so they will know it's Rosin Heads. It won't really matter what it says on the package, hopefully. I'm going to do a big marketing campaign to try to really get the word out. But that got me to market 4 months faster, right? And I make the same amount of money, so it's to me, it's a no-brainer to just get to market, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're getting a Kit Kat and it's stamped Kit Kat and it comes in like a different wrapper, you know what you're eating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think that's, I mean, these are gold bars for individuals in the Canadian space looking to make an impact who, don't think it can be done by a single guy on a shoestring on a small budget. And I think, you're living proof that can happen. And so, this is really what this show is all about, and kind of highlighting guys like you. And so I wanted to talk about your experience at Hex, at the large publicly traded company that you worked for. What insight did you gain working for that large entity? Like, what did you learn that has helped you on your journey now that you didn't know before going into it?
Everything. No, those 3 years were super helpful, right? So I started out developing chocolates for the first 6 months. They ran out of money. The first thing they shut down was their edible program. From there, I got moved into new product development. The goal of that team was to find the white space in the market, come up with crazy ideas, things that have never been seen before. So basically, for 6 months, all we did was develop product concepts in PowerPoint. Crazy stuff. 90% of it was dumb, right? But that was a mandate at the time, right? They ran out of money again, so the new product development team got killed. From there was a team developed called category management. However, because they had no money and my salary was a little over the top at the time, they couldn't put me in the category management payroll bucket, so to speak. So they put me in R&D with all the scientists. So I had a dual role where, on paper I was reporting to R&D. I was really helping R&D with a lot of stuff, but my mandate became category management. So products, positioning, and pricing, right? Own the product portfolio. I started out owning flour, pre-rolls, and extracts. One of the largest LPs in the country, right? Like ridiculous amounts of responsibility. From there, I basically transitioned to just managing extract, launched some really cool products in the market, some first products never seen before in the Canadian market space. But really what I learned was how to price my products properly, how to do the market analysis, how to understand the trends, where the market's going. And as much as I learned, though, I always just fall back on my natural instinct, which is just create a good product, treat the consumer with respect, price it fairly so people can afford it. And it's that's always just been my strategy.
So do you know what your price point's going to be in the Canadian market here for these, or is that not something that you're releasing yet?
Yeah, I mean, we've got it all figured out. But I can tell you that one of those truffles is going to be cheaper than most gummies on the market. So,
wow.
Obviously, I can't compete with with the Indie Bar or the Bang price point just yet. But I'll be cheaper than a lot of gummies on market, right? My whole I want to drive velocity more than I want to make a significant margin off each product. I want, like I said, I want the product to be priced fairly for the customers so they come back, right? I'm not trying to just sell it once as a money grab.
I was going to say at that price point, it's like you can grab 4, 5, 6.
So here's the thinking, behind the Rosin Edge brand, right? When I was thinking about, how to position this brand and everything, and why to use rosin, for example, concentrate consumers in the legal market have a higher basket size, right? So concentrate consumers going to buy a gram of rosin at $70, they're buying 2 to 3 of those a week potentially. Whereas the people, right? So those are the customers I want to target. They're spending a lot of money. the people that are going out and buying the $5 bang chocolates typically buy, your $99 ounce, and they try to make it last them a week or two, right? So the concentrate consumers, my goal is somebody goes in, buys a $70 gram of rosin, they can buy one of each of my chocolates and still be under $100 at checkout.
Sexy rosin. Yeah, no, that's solid. Jameson, you're on mute.
I said the price point is right. I mean, understanding that is half the battle, and so I think that you were able to get some really valuable insight to help you get everything together that you need to take a complete package to a licensed producer and say, hey, listen, this is valuable, and here's why, and I've even got the market interest to prove it. So, I really want to just promote more of this, because this is real, this is organic, this is somebody who's been doing it for a really long time. And I commend you, Todd. I think that you had a vision and you executed on it, and that's rare. I think a lot of people got into cannabis to get rich quick, and I think that of course, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't. It doesn't make, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. But this is coming from a point of passion, and you presented me with a box, and when we connected in Toronto, and you could just tell, it's like I can tell a grower or somebody who's about cannabis by the way that they hand somebody else cannabis. There's a respect there, and there was a respect with what you had created, and there's an absolute art in it. And so I commend you for what you've done, and thanks so much for taking the time to sit down. I know it was last minute, and you've got some incredible products, and I think that
something
I'm
that we
really
also
excited.
don't talk about much is quality at scale too, right? We kind of focus on a lot of small batch guys doing lots of small stuff, but to roll out products like this at scale definitely is not easy, and definitely big ups on that too, because to be able to keep a good good quality product like that, especially across the country in a nationwide market, is big. So kudos to you.
Yeah, for the legal market, I spent significant time choosing the right co-manufacturer. Funny story, right? Like I've been specifying the same equipment every time that I've spoken to an LP. And I've never been able to purchase it, right? It's quite expensive, and I haven't been able to get that kind of money out of anybody. I walked into the co-manufacturer's facility. I saw every single piece of equipment that I wanted to work at, right? And I just looked at them. I let them try the products. They looked at my products. They looked at me. They're like, we want to run these products. I'm like, let's go. So, it's good, right? I seem to have a lot of people behind me supporting me here. So it's humbling to say the least, because most of the people that support me, I don't know them. And the one thing I want to apologize to anybody who might see this is I'm not very responsive on IG. Typically when somebody asks where they can get the products, either they don't get a response, or else I just basically tell them I'm transitioning to the legal market, and I'm sorry. That's the one thing that I wish I'd done better with Rosin Heads is communicate better with consumers, and let them know that there's no hard feelings. It's nothing personal at all. I just need to focus on the goal at hand. So often there's not enough products to go around. I'm a one-man show, so some weeks I can't make any product because I'm doing paperwork. So that's where I'm going to try to improve moving forward, is just try to communicate better with consumers.
Well, I think as well, when you have a really good product, you don't have people communicating with you to complain and try and get either money back or how to improve. You've
Yeah.
got people trying to contact you to get your product because it's been so good and so well received. So I think that's somewhat acceptable. It's the same thing. I mean, I don't want to say you're as big as like a Kanye West or something, but like, you message one of those people on Instagram, you're not getting a response.
Yeah, I mean, typically, you know, for the most part, it's just I haven't been like I don't do the sales. You know what I mean? It's always collaborations. If you notice, everything that I do is a collaboration with someone's input, and all I do is make chocolate. You know what I mean?
Todd, I want to ask you about, so these chocolates you sent us, this was GMO rosin that was used in here. Now, when you receive rosin to work with and you smell a profile, are there certain, does that denote or limit you on certain profiles of chocolate that you can work with? Like, does GMO work with your raspberry and peanut butter and your milk chocolate and peanut butter better than it works with another one of your offerings? Like, do you have to play matchmaker with terps?
Often I do. Sometimes I'm limited by what I have on hand. So when I first started working on transition into the legal market, I built a spreadsheet of all the chocolate flavors I have, all the different terpene profiles that match those chocolate flavors, and then other columns with top 1, 2, 3 strains with those terpene profiles that can match what I'm trying to do. Right. The mimosa works really well with the raspberry chocolate. It's one of the best pairings that I've ever done. I can put 200 milligrams of the mimosa rosin with one of those raspberry chocolates, and like honestly, I don't think you can taste the rosin at all. You just taste a compliment to the raspberry.
That's
so cool.
That's very
so
cool.
No, I don't think anybody's doing that and going through that thought process, or if they are, they
Right
don't talk
now-
about
That's
it.
super. That's
right
dope.
now, the first strain that we're going to go to the legal market with is orange tings, which is going to pair really well with the raspberry. So.
Oh, for sure it will. That's very cool, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, everything we're going to be doing in the legal market will be strain specific. We'll be calling it out. There's challenges with the legal market that people don't often recognize. My packaging, every package, every new label that I need or printed packaging, 50,000 is my minimum quantity, right? So as much as I want to have terpene information, I want to have certain information on the packaging, I just might not be able to based on those limitations, right? If I order packaging in smaller quantities, the cost is double, right? So it's just not feasible for me. I'm not working on like a super high margin on these products. So, when there's situations such as a strain change, we'll communicate it very clearly with sell sheets, notify all the bud tenders, all that kind of stuff. But, I might not be able to have all the information on the packaging just because of those limitations, right? Once
you're holding yourself to a different standard. I mean, like, no, every other edible maker doesn't even make these considerations, so I think that,
Exactly what I was going to say.
Much respect to you for even, apologizing for something that nobody has even thought to apologize for. So I think that's
it's funny, right? Because what I learned at the large LP was a term that makes me laugh to this day, right? MVP. And in the common world, MVP means most valuable player. At a large LP, MVP means minimal viable product, meaning just get the shit out the door. Okay. In my mind, I know what the ideal product is. I will never ever be anywhere near a minimal viable product. I can assure you guys that.
And that's what this community appreciates. Like we appreciate artistry. We appreciate, like, look at glass, look at the hash that we smoke, all these things that there's such an appreciation from this community for the finer things, and trying to sell a distillate gummy to somebody who smokes rosin is really
Insulting.
It's insulting. Yeah, I'm trying to.
I mean, I was going to say too, just to go on that side, let's go off on like just glass, and then people that are spending money on rosin and on fire packs that are putting those dollars down. When they get together, they're not like when we get together, we're not going to McDonald's. We're spending money on food, and we're fucking critical of that food. And like we think about the terpene profile, and Jameson has like this obsession of having like a terpene dab, like connection in between courses, and like potentially even having a dosed meal that also potentially could have paired terpenes depending on what you're eating. Again, like nobody's servicing that side of things, and there's a lot of dollars that go out. Like how many of our friends go to like try and seek out Michelin stars? How many of our friends seek out the most expensive sushi or like the most exclusive sushi?
You're already enjoying the finer things on one side, so why not continue to enjoy the
It's
finer
about
things
knowing
on
your
another?
audience, and that's what Todd's been able to do. I mean, through the years, he's gotten to know it, and then went on the other side and learned about getting what it entails to get a product to market from a giant corporate entity. And I just think that it's really cool what you've done, and I'm really excited to watch what you continue to do. And I think that you've provided a bit of a framework for people to come after you, and I hope you did. I hope you laid the tracks, because this is the kind of product that the Canadian market needs to know about. Like, this is something that if my US homies flew into town, I would tell them, I'd be like, yo, I'm grabbing you some of these rosin heads. You have to try this. Like, you have to try this.
It'd be the one thing I'd probably tell them to go. They need
like,
to buy from the legal store.
Yeah.
And it's going to be better than anything they've had before, and it's worth it.
Because when we're traveling around, like us weed people, like we're always just trying to bring some experience to our friends that's better, new, or different that they haven't had, and that's something that I go to the US, I haven't had something like that, and so I know to show somebody that and see their experience with it, because I love the raspberry is crazy.
Yeah, I've actually I've gotten these chocolates in the hands of quite a few people in California, and they're telling me the same, that they don't have anything like that down there either. So obviously that's the next market I'm going to go after. If I can figure that out, and I think I know the formula now from Canada. I think it's rinse and repeat for the US. Once I figure out Cali, it should be rinse and repeat for several states. So that's the end goal, but it's been a hard grind trying to get Canada landed. So let's hope this goes well, and then I'll be well funded to take it to the US, hopefully.
100%, bro. 100%. We'll all be there, all supporting. Like it, I think that Canada will stand up for people like you, and I know I'll be out there, grabbing stuff and supporting, and the 50 is definitely too big for my parents, but when the 10 drops in the store, definitely going to be grabbing that for mom and dad.
I'm going to cut it up into a couple slices for my parents. I'm saving
No, that's
money.
why I said that's the problem with it. It's too good.
And you're also going to see, guys, the packaging in the legal market. I wouldn't say it's over the top, but if you look at how how I am with presentation in the legacy market, I want to maintain that. Beyond that, I hate, honestly, like the reason why everything comes in those nice boxes with the trays and everything is so everything arrives not scuffed, right? I'm not going to be just putting a chocolate in a pouch, so it's going to arrive all scuffed and screwed up, right? Like the packaging is going to be a little over the top, not over the top per se, but it's going to protect the chocolate really well, so it's going to arrive in pristine condition. So no scuffs. You eat with your eye first. You don't want to look at a piece of chocolate that looks like it's been through the ringer, right? Especially when I'm shipping from Ontario to multiple different provinces, and from the province, the distribution center's got to go to the stores. It's going to be handled quite a few times, right? So I want to make sure that it's packaged properly.
I'm hanging on to mine as a little piece of history.
Yeah, there's actually there's few people I know that have those baller boxes framed. There's one guy who actually has every single baller box that I've ever launched.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we were just talking with Real Deal, and they were, they do limited drops of all their shirts and different merch, and like, I think that there's a cool connection to be made there with the exclusivity of what you're doing and collecting the boxes and things like that. Like it's very on trend for what's happening today. I was always a kid who'd like rip the package apart and take the thing out of the package, but now I can definitely see holding on to that, because in a few years I'm really excited to see what you're up to, because I think it's going to be big, and I see it being everywhere. Like I see it really being this is something that could sit. This is the first thing that I've seen that's going to be out of the legal space that could sit on a sesh table of like some really heavy dudes, and it'd be something that it's like, yeah, that's on par with the quality of all the other materials sitting on this table. So
yeah, I mean, I was able to actually, use the exact same recipes, right? I didn't have to change anything. I'll be completely honest, the raspberry peanut butter cup, far too expensive to make. I take a big hit on the margin on the raspberry. So please, when you buy them, buy one of each, so the milk chocolate compensates for the raspberry.
Yo, my other idea is you should do one dosed and one not dosed, because like you're gonna eat the dosed one, and then a little bit later.
No, or a half dose with two.
Yeah.
In it. So there's raspberry, and then there's also milk chocolate.
The original goal was to have, just as you see it there, the peanut butter collection with one of each in it. The cost is just too high, unfortunately. So I had to go this route for now. Right now, like I'm funding this all myself, right? So I've got to be really, really conscious of all costs. Once I get to a point where there's some money, then we'll get to some really cool different format sizes. I have the full 1 year roadmap built out with lots of other ideas that I just haven't positioned on a timeline yet. And I'm gonna be very proactive here and get all my my NNCPs and everything put in for the entire year right now. So the market's very dynamic, right? Things change very quickly. So NNCPs can hold you up for 2 months. So if I get all my NNCPs submitted now for the year, I'm gonna have the flexibility to launch what I want when I want, to respond to those market dynamics, right? For example, if I launch a certain flavor and four other LPs come out with that flavor during the same product call, maybe I need to pivot really quick and come out with something new and fresh, right? So, I'm definitely thinking ahead and planning everything ahead, so I'm ready.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. I'm really stoked.
You may be a rosin head, but you're not a classic lazy pothead, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's some
perhaps
serious
I am,
planning.
right? Like honestly, like this is this whole chocolate thing has it's really consumed my life. It's kind of changed me as a human, to be completely honest, right? I've never been this motivated. I've never been this driven. I've never had the confidence. I've never believed in myself, like I have through this journey, right? And there's nights, like even last week, I'm laying in bed, like I don't know how I'm going to do this certain task. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Next morning, I get up and I have no choice. I have to figure it out, right? So then you figure it out, and you start understanding that you're pretty much unstoppable if you just go at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's awesome, bro. Were there people along the way in your journey that were teaching you about infusions and edible creation with chocolate, or was this all trial and error by yourself?
Yeah, it's all been trial and error. I was fortunate enough to work for a private equity company, and that's actually where this entrepreneurial spirit came from. Working with a private equity company, they owned several restaurants, thousands and thousands of franchises. I got really close with the owners. There was 3 brothers there, and I just started soaking up knowledge from them, right? And when I started the Can of Chocolatier and Shatter Sweets there, Shatter Sweets was actually licensed to one of their friends, and then I started Can of Chocolatier while I was there. So from there, I started learning how to do all the financial stuff that I had to do, to open up a corporation. And I really soaked up a lot of knowledge from them. They actually got heavily into cannabis. So I got to see a lot of really cool cannabis stuff go down while I was there. And when I left there, I went to the large LP directly from there, and I stayed there for 3 years. And the whole time while I was at the large LP, I was coming up with new ideas, coming up with new recipes. But like I said, Rosin Heads wasn't in the plans, right? I had other brands, and I just started slowly taking recipes from other brands and moving them into Rosin Heads. But I originally had three brands positioned. Every brand had different recipes. Each brand was targeted to a different consumer segment, with different inputs, different doses, etc. But with the reception that Rosin had got, I'd be stupid not to put everything else aside and just focus 100% on this, right?
Yeah.
The market tells you what they want, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm not the one going out there saying, I'm ultra premium, I'm the best. None of that, right? And my price point isn't premium, but at the end of the day, I don't dictate premium. The producer doesn't dictate premium by the price point. The consumers dictate premium by their enjoyment of the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So would there be is there plans for another brand that would be a solvent-based brand? Like, are there things that you can't do with solventless resin that you can do with a solvent-based extract in chocolate or candy?
So I started out using Shatter, right? Shatter Sweets was a Shatter-based brand. From there, I moved to distillate. Under the guise that distillate was tasteless, but we all know distillate actually tastes way worse than cannabis because it's concentrated THC. So it's always been funny to me when people say, "Oh, I hate the taste of cannabis." No, really, you hate the taste of THC distillate. You haven't actually had the taste of cannabis in your edibles, right? So it's been the journey for me has been Shatter, distillate, rosin. I can't see myself going back to live resin. I can't see myself going back to shatter. There's nothing inherently unhealthy about, shatter, live resin, etc. I just don't know that I want to be the guy doing a live resin chocolate. However, if the market tells me that's where I need to go,
That's where you'll go.
that's where I'll go. Right?
Let me
There's
ask you
no
this.
moral objections to it. Just in
Yeah.
my opinion, solventless is where it's at, right?
Absolutely. And why is that? Like, what observations and what makes you say that?
So, number one, first and foremost, the reason why anybody consumes anything, the effects, right? Right, especially in a 10 milligram chocolate, people can't really get good effects off a 10 milligram distillate chocolate. 10 milligrams of rosin actually hits you a little bit. You know what I mean? It doesn't KO you, if you've got a tolerance, but 10 milligrams of rosin, a heavy user can feel,
Spectrum.
right? Beyond that, obviously it's a full spectrum, right? But beyond that, it's the flavor and it's the way that I compare the actual cannabis flavor with the chocolate, which is something that hasn't been done. You know what I mean? Way back in the day, I remember everybody was using butter. All edibles tasted like cannabis, right? And in my opinion, those edibles tasted better than the new generation of distillate edibles, right? But because the butter was always so inconsistent, you never knew the dose, you never knew the strain. Not all butter edibles tasted great, right? With rosin, I can be much more selective. I can choose the strains and taste, flavor, effect, right? And I
So
mean, honestly, if we're being honest, right, like this is where the market's going. This is where the trends are,
for sure.
for very good reason, right?
Yeah. Have you experimented with higher end solventless products or extracts versus lower end solventless extracts and found a marked difference? I ask because I've never done it, but I have friends who, make edibles out of really, really high end resin and say that it's dramatically different than if you were to make it out of lower grade resin. Is that an experience that you've shared?
Yeah, 100%. So, obviously fire in, fire out, right? It's the same as anything else, right? By the time you get to second press and whatnot, the terpenes are usually less pronounced. They're usually more muted, and it's just more of a decarbed rosin taste as opposed to a strain specific taste, right? Just the other week, I got some. So Cody Colson's one of my friends, right? He sent me. He actually went to the store, purchased a few grams of that animal face, first press. The really really nice rosin that he launched into the legal space. So I made him some chocolates with that. I would say that's probably the nicest input material I've worked with. And they're probably some of the most expensive edibles I've ever made in my life, right? If you know the price point of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a definite difference in the taste. Like you can actually taste the strain a lot more than opposed to just decarbed rosin.
Do you have what's your tolerance for edibles like? Like, can you just eat it?
They don't work. No, they don't work. So the last time I even tried to, consume edibles was I had some dental surgery. I was taking 600 milligram rosin caps, decarb rosin caps, a few times a day, for over a week, and I barely felt stoned like for the entire week. However, 2 days after I stopped taking them, for whatever reason, I was fucked for a couple of days after. But like I didn't feel the effects. Like maybe my liver processed everything like some delayed reaction or whatever. But I was laid out like after the fact.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So is that from years of use, or is that something you always? Yeah. Okay.
So like my tolerance for smoking is super low, right? Like I went from smoking, 2 ounces a week, like literally getting up, smoking a joint, going to work, smoking a joint at my 9 o'clock break, smoking 2 joints at lunch, smoking a joint at my 3 o'clock break, smoking a joint on the way home, and smoking all night. I went from that because I used to have really bad social anxiety. That's how I got into cannabis. That's how I gained all the knowledge that I have about cannabis. Because when it's kind of a life or death situation, and it's not, technically life or death. Nobody was shooting at me, but when you have anxiety like that, you kind of feel like that, right? So, when it's life or death situation like that, you learn a lot more, you learn a lot quicker. And, because I had to consume 2 ounces a week, I started growing everything else. But as I got older, as I started gaining confidence, that anxiety started going away. And I'm at the point right now, I only smoke a couple bongs before bed. So like my tolerance for smoking, non-existent. My tolerance for edibles, they don't work.
That's very interesting. Super interesting. I'm the opposite. I pretty much can smoke all day, but edibles, like after 200 milligrams, I'll start like feeling like I'm moving in slow motion, which I don't mind. If you need me to move around, it's not a good time.
Yeah, I'm starting to already feel it in my body.
With Shattered Sweets, I was doing these 300 milligram Lights Out lollipops was the name, right? I used to have cute names for products, trying to really market them, Space Sponge Toppy, Lights Out lollipops. I used to come up with cool names for products, and now I just let the products speak for themselves. I don't try to get trendy. I don't try to do anything. It's a milk chocolate peanut butter cup, right? Like,
do you find that doing more extravagant flavor combinations attracts more consumers, or are more consumers attracted to stuff that's more like Old Faithful, like a Score bar recreation?
See, I think there's both consumers for sure. Nostalgia always wins. You know what I mean? Like that's why there's a raspberry peanut butter cup that brings everybody back to their childhood.
Yeah.
One of the most successful boxes that I did was Crunchy. You know what I mean? Which was sponge toffee and chocolate, milk and white chocolate. Right? That really resonated with a lot of people because they're very familiar with it. In my opinion, and what I've always found is there's a certain point, you can, at least with my brands, there's a certain point I can go, as far as, going out there where people are receptive to it. and then I can step over the line and people just don't care anymore. People just think it's stupid. You know what I mean? And you'll see, like, if you look back at, especially some of the designs I was doing with the Canna Chocolatier. If you look at what I'm doing with Rosin Heads, you'll see Rosin Heads is a lot more minimalistic than the Canna Chocolatier was. Canna Chocolatier was a lot more flash, with the designs and stuff. Rosin Heads, to me, I want it to be more elegant. I want it to be more simplistic. I want it to be more timeless. So yeah, I just really like less is more, in my opinion, with it, right? And I always found it funny when certain products have like when people make cupcakes or whatever, they got like 30 different toppings on it, right? They got little balls, they got stars, they've got this, they've got that, right? Because they just don't know what to do, apparently, right? So I try to be very, very consistent and just very minimalistic with what I'm doing, right? And when I do flavors, like you'll see with the baller boxes, every baller box was always 2 different flavors, right? And I would launch, 1 or 2 different baller boxes a month. And there was a very strategic reason for that. When I sold the Canna Chocolatier, to the large LP, I also sold them, a large portfolio of recipes. So doing the baller boxes that had 2 different flavors in them and doing a drop every month over the last 9 months, that's allowed me to create 18 different new recipes, right? So very strategic, yeah, great. I gave the consumers lots of different choice, and everything I did was one and done, right? I would do it limited edition, certain amount of boxes. This is it, never doing it again. But now I have all these recipes for the legal market.
That's awesome. So just like wrapping up here, Todd, like what advice do you have for brands and young entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs in general, like yourself, coming behind you with different but similar ideas like this? What advice would you have for them?
I mean, the same advice that I gave off the top. Believe in yourself. That's it, really. Because everything else you can learn. You know what I mean? You can learn how to do the paperwork. You can learn how to make the chocolate. You can learn how to make the product. If you don't believe in yourself, you're going to give up.
Yeah,
that's it.
Man, I just want to thank you again. Like, this was honestly some of the nicest chocolate I've had. Like the raspberry. I'm a peanut butter jelly fan, so that to me was a really nice surprise, and I'm really stoked that we were able to connect when I was in Toronto. And yeah, I'm really stoked you had time to come on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
No problem.
definitely, Todd. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. These are some great chocolates. So
Yeah, unreal. And I wish you the most
definitely killing
success.
it.
I will definitely be trying to buy them out at the local dispensaries when they hit, because like unreal, man. As I said before, best dosed chocolates I've ever had, to the point where I absolutely would pay for them non-dosed, probably at the same price, because I'd eat these not even to get high.
Awesome.
So great work, man.
Where can people find you, Todd?
Kind of in hiding. No.
Instagram.
On our show. Obviously, I'm not in hiding anymore, right? And like, this is the first time I've actually showed my face in connection with this brand. It's funny, right? After being in the industry over 5 years, everything that I've done, pretty much legacy market. So I've never connected the dots between all the brands. So this is the first time that people know that I was that guy. I was that guy that worked at that big LP that launched all those products. I was that guy who was a Canna Chocolatier. I was that guy who was Shattered Sweets. I'm that guy who's Rosin Head right now. It's kind of out in the open. I'm that guy. You know what I mean? So the next step, as you guys see, I'm very good at building brands, cannabis brands. The next step is building my personal brand, right? So I really appreciate the opportunity of you guys bringing me on here, because like I said, this is the first time I've shown my face. This is the first time people know who I am now, right?
Hey, man, we appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on. We're going to start doing, in conjunction with these sort of one-on-one interviews, we're going to start doing larger roundtables. We're actually going to probably go like big time, like 10, 12 people and have topics and discussions that we bring on. And I'd love to bring you on in a Canadian roundtable. Just, I think you bring a really unique perspective as somebody who's, started in the traditional market, gone into the belly of the beast, so to speak, on the legal side, and then come back out. And, that's something that you and I, and I think a few of us share. And I think you provide a really, really unique perspective. And I think you've got a really great attitude. And I think, believe in yourself is the attitude. And I know what you feel when you're like, I got a fire in my belly and I wake up every day ready to eat each day. And, before maybe not so much. And so stoked to stay in touch with you, man. Stoked to have connected with you. Thank you so much for your time, man. And we really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Very much
Appreciate you.
All the best.
Thanks again.
Talk soon,
Thanks
guys.
Thanks again for tuning in, everyone.
Sunday, Real Deal Resin. Check it out.
Don't forget
Big
to like
show.
and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
See ya.